Well, a very warm welcome along to the next instalment of our themed content month, which we have been calling Digitisation of the Landlord Life Cycle. And we've been documenting all the different phases of the landlord life cycle and where landlords can use digital tools and products to basically make their landlord life a lot simpler, improve their bottom line, and also mitigate their risk. And today we are going to be talking about the ownership phase, and we're actually calling this ownership management and growth. And this is the longest phase of the landlord life cycle, where the landlord is engaged in the activities of both property and tenant management, and also trying to build their portfolio. And as always, today I am joined by Lendlord CEO and co-founder Avram Shahar. And Lendlord is working with us to promote this idea of the digitization of the landlord life cycle. And Avram, I think it's really interesting how the series has been building up, because I think one of the key turn-offs for people to use digital products is inputting data. But what we're showing is that you only have to input that data once, but it starts to build a much bigger picture. And today we're going to be talking about the profit and loss module on Lendlord, and how that can actually translate through to your tax return. But also you're building up performance history data for that property, and you're also, as we're saying, creating you're building up your tax return as well. So actually it's working on a number of different levels, and I think this is one of the key things to understand about the benefits of digital.
The first thing is the data, but after that, if you use a digital tool, it can take this data and do many things with this data. One thing, of course, as you mentioned, is just manage your cash flow, and from that you can understand also the performance of the properties. You can track the rent collection, and also get insights that can tell you what should be your next step and things like that. So no, absolutely, and I do understand what you mentioned about like the barriers to just get started. I have so much information, and it takes time. So we do have at Lendlord some options to make it a bit easier. First, there are no mandatory fields, so you can start with minimal set of attributes. So for each property, put the address, purchase price, purchase date, the mortgage, and then start and tweak, enhance it as you go. And another thing, that if you maintain a spreadsheet with all of your details, property details, you can just upload it and map your fields to the platform fields, and then in one click, basically, you can upload all the data to Lendlord. And of course, let's mention again, the data is secured. It's under security groups in the cloud, and no one can access your data, and we not pass your data to third parties. So basically, it's a great way to be on top of your things, especially if we speak about the profit and loss. And also, as we mentioned in the previous video, you can also use it from your mobile. So basically, you can carry your portfolio in your pocket.
So the more information and data you put in, the better the software will actually serve you. And we hope that this encourages existing landlords to take up software like Lendlord. But Avram, also we really want to encourage new landlords just starting out, right at the beginning of their landlord journey, right, when they're starting in the pre-acquisition phase, which we've already covered. We want them to start as they mean to go on and adopt this digital lifestyle, because for them it's going to be so much easier just to input the data as they go along, rather than having to go back in time and put lots of data in for lots of different properties. We know, it's our vision, that landlords that become digitized in the ways that we're describing their landlord life is going to be so much easier going forwards. They're going to have so many insights, so many advantages on non-digital landlords, and really that's what we're so excited about this series, and that we're going to be producing an ebook to accompany it at the end of the series. So we do really want landlords to work through this whole series and start using these tools, don't we?
As soon as you start it, is the better. And of course, for newbies and newcomer landlords are just starting in property, it's a great way to build their portfolio together with the technology. So it can help them analyze, like we covered in the first week, can help them analyze the deal and get more information about the postcode, for instance, and the tenant's demand, etc. And then once they purchase the property, it's just the next step. So just you need to convert the property from a prospect to actual property. So you already have the information you stored as a prospect in the actual property, and then you need to add the layer of the tenancy once you get a tenant. So absolutely, if you're just getting started, like to start with digital tool and start building your portfolio in the cloud, it's a great way to do it, because you keep the momentum, you also get the insights, and yeah, I think absolutely, yes.
Well, I just wish that this technology had been around when I started out as a portfolio landlord in 2004. And I think we've worked out that using digital products and tools will assist with about 80%, 90% of landlord problems, and actually vastly mitigate risk. And that's why it's really exciting that landlords today actually have these digital products and tools to assist them. So Avram, we've got some also very exciting news this week, which is that Lendlord has announced an integration with Making Tax Digital with Untied, which we've got a press release about, which I'll include. But we know that Making Tax Digital is coming in. At the moment, they're saying, I think 2024. It could be pushed back a bit, but the fact is, it is coming. It is the direction of travel. The government wants landlords to report on a quarterly basis through Government Gateway. So great news that landlords are going to be integrated for landlords to be able to do that.
Yes, it's very important, and I think for landlords who start to adopt the digital way to track their cash flow and managing their profit and loss, it will be much easier when this reform will be live, the Making Tax Digital. And the step we did this week at Lendlord with this integration with Untied, so we are now allowing our users to file the tax return automatically to HMRC with just several clicks. So if you manage your transactions on Lendlord, either by linking your bank accounts or do it manually or uploading files, or just connected your Xero account to Lendlord, and everything is set up, in the end of the financial year, you will be able to, in few clicks, using the Untied technology from your Lendlord account, file the tax return to HMRC. And when Making Tax Digital will be live, you will need to do it on a quarterly basis. So it's definitely recommended to start first managing everything in a digital way. Start to use the automatically filing, because do it now annually, and then soon you will need to start doing it quarterly. And we think that at some point, there is now a pilot that is running, so we will promote this pilot to our users. I believe it will be like in several months, so landlord user will be able also to be part of the Making Tax Digital pilot. So to start filing in a quarterly basis through their landlord account. It's not live yet, but we are working that it will be also available from the Lendlord platform, and then they will be ready for Making Tax Digital.
Yeah, because that will come around sooner than you think. I think it's so interesting as well, just to highlight that we're once again showing how you can live your landlord life off a dashboard. So And as Avram mentioned, that could even be on your mobile device. This is really exciting stuff for landlords to be able to operate in this digital format. Now we're going to move to a very quick helicopter view of the profit and loss module. And as a landlord, it is your absolute duty to claim every single expense that you can. You would be actually foolish not to, especially because, you know, we are in quite an onerous tax regime here in the UK for landlords. And I think the other thing that Avram will be demonstrating is that it's almost like a checklist of the fields on the landlord profit and loss module, actually show you and prompt you to claim for things that you might have forgotten about or might not be aware of. But good record keeping is really, really important for landlords for their tax and other aspects of their business. So Avram, we've got the profit and loss module to have a quick look at.
Yes. Okay, so let's do a quick demo, a very high level. So on your landlord account, the first step is to put your property details on the My Portfolio page. After that, set up your tenants and tenancies. Go to the rent collection page, make sure that the payment schedule is there for all tenants. We have many videos on those topics, so we just focus on the profit and loss today. On the transactions page, decide on a way you want to track the income and expenses. You can either link your bank account or link your Xero if you use Xero. This is part of our premium plan. Or you can upload a spreadsheet with all of your income and expenses, or you can do it manually. And there is another option to use recurring income and expenses that we covered in other videos. So after you track all the transactions to the relevant properties, go to the profit and loss page. So the profit and loss page, this is the view of the income and expenses. This is now for the entire portfolio, but you can use the filters if you want to filter a specific property or a specific owner, or if like specific ownership, it's company or private. And you can also go back to the years. So we keep 5 years of history of profit and loss. So you can see the situation in 2021 in terms of income and expenses. You can go to a specific month and view the expenses for this specific property in this month. And you can add expenses also from here. And as Vanessa, you mentioned, there are many predefined types of expenses you can see here that can also help you understand which expenses you can also claim for tax reasons. So
I think what's really interesting to note, Avram, that a lot of landlord expenses are recurring. So there are monthly costs, such as, you know, it could be your rent guarantee insurance, your buildings insurance, that there'll be, you know, letting agent fees, that there'll be those recurring expenses. So with this, you only need to put them in once and then mark them as a recurring expense, and then it automatically adds them. So that's a very, almost like a hack, isn't it? Just to make it so much simpler to input the ongoing expenses.
Yeah, so we have users that use the recurring. So basically month by month, the platform carry over those expenses. But there are users that prefer just to track the actual payments when they get them. So if you link your bank account, you will just track the transaction that actually received to your bank account, or like the transaction that you paid, or use Xero, or if you upload spreadsheets. But you can definitely use the recurring mechanism. If you edit the expense and check the recurring expense checkbox, then the platform will carry the expense over for you every month by month, also for the income. So if you have a rent that you trust that is being paid every month on the same date, you can use the recurring. But if you want to track the rent just when you receive it, you can use the transactions page to do it.
We have spoken to landlord users how they use the different modules, and everybody develops their own little ways of doing things, their own shortcuts. But I think the general consensus was to just do it little and often. So maybe spend 5 minutes a day just doing the profit and loss module. And one other thing that I've actually fallen foul of, Avram, is when I've paid for a big item, say like a boiler, I might have paid for it on a credit card. Obviously, that's not coming in from the bank feed. So if you do end up paying for something on a credit card, just develop that discipline to immediately go into Lendlord, put it in as a one-off expense, and attach the invoice or the receipt of whatever you've bought outside of your bank account, and that really makes sure that you keep on top of all of the things that you're entitled to offset against your tax liability. So I think it's just being disciplined, doing a little bit every day, and then it also becomes just part of your daily kind of landlord routine, doesn't it?
Yes, I totally agree. I think that if you just like get a routine every week, even, or every 2 days, or if you don't have so many every month, just go log all the expenses, or make sure, if you use the automation, that everything was tracked correctly. And then you go to the reports page, you can select the period that you want to review. Let's say like the last financial year. You can see the categories, and for the income, for the expenses, and the bottom line. And then you have different reports. You can take a look on the tax report with the estimated profit after tax.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a look on the expenses breakdown and see on what basically you spend your cash based on category. And you can also change the category, something is not right. You can also add categories, edit categories. So it's pretty fine, but you can change the list.
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned, you can also upload receipt to each expense or income. So you can store the receipts, invoices here.
Mm-hmm.
Something new that we released actually this week is a report, PDF report. So you can actually print it or save it as a PDF. And the new thing that we will discuss in the webinar today is to file your tax return using the Untied platform.
And well, that's an incredible development to be integrated into Lendlord. As we say, making tax digital is coming down the pipe at us, and we have recorded a separate webinar about the integration of Untied into Lendlord and that into HMRC Gateway. So I'll put that video at the bottom of this thread in the footer. I think, Avram, there was a screen you had which showed your net cash flow. And I just want to highlight for newcomer landlords, that is probably one of the most important figures that you need to be aware of in your portfolio. You want to be making net positive cash flow per month. And you can look at it on a portfolio basis, but also on an individual property basis. And that's when we start seeing some of the performance elements and insights that Lendlord can start delivering. And again, this then kind of chimes very nicely with what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, because we're going to be talking about growth of your portfolio, and this occurs in the ownership phase. And essentially, Avram, what people are going to do is they're going to almost be on a loop where they keep going back into pre-acquisition, acquisition, ownership. When they're in the ownership phase, what most people are going to do are to wait for equity to have accrued in their portfolio through organic capital growth or through forcing the appreciation through refurbishment or development. And they are going to look to recycle that cash and grow additional assets. So everything, as you can see, is all starting to feed into this dashboard, feed into the intel, and help landlords make wiser investment decisions. So tomorrow we will be talking about the growth and recycling your cash, which is the final episode in our ownership management and growth phase. But for now, we do invite you to check out the webinar, which will be below this one, to fully understand the profit and loss module and how powerful it is and the insights it will give you, and well worth sitting down with a cup of tea to have a look at that. So Avram, thank you for today, and we'll both be back tomorrow as we continue on with the digitization of the landlord life cycle, and we just hope that you're as excited about it as we are.